As a GP, it's our responsibility to be for the present, the future, and the legacy of our own families and all of our investors. You get up every morning with that mindset, no matter what, get up, we're going to figure it out. We're going to trust God, and we're going to go dig in there until it's time to go home, and just don't ever quit.
The Apartment Gurus podcast is brought to you by Greenlight Equity Group, an apartment acquisitions and holdings firm co-founded by Carl York and Tate Siemer, host of this show. We offer you the opportunity to be an owner of cash-flowing, wealth-growing apartments without the headaches of being a landlord. These assets are recession-resistant, risk-mitigated, offer significant tax advantages, and are a great alternative to the stock market. Ready to check it out? Go to www.investwithgreenlight.com today to book a personal consultation with Carl or Tate. Again, that's investwithgreenlight.com. We look forward to meeting you. Welcome to The Apartment Gurus, where twice a week, host Tate Siemer brings you deep dive interviews with the wisest gurus in the apartment investing industry. These experts are sure to create game-changing value and inspiration designed to catapult your business to the next level. Be sure to reach out to Tate at www.investwithgreenlight.com for access to his investor portal and Calendly link. And now, here is Tate Siemer and the Apartment Gurus.
Welcome, everybody, back. Another episode of the Apartment Gurus podcast. And, you know, one of the things I love, and I've said it over and over and over again on the show, is connecting with people on this show in front of you guys as a listener base and as listeners. Like, it is so fun to connect with people that you know maybe a little bit, or you know maybe a little bit better than that, or somebody that you've really wanted to meet for a while. And my guest today, Mr. Leon Shasteen, is somebody that I got to meet through Matthew Elmer, who's been a guest on the show and is a partner of mine in our little software launch toolkit that we're in the middle of launching, and called Investor Octane Tools. Amazing toolkit feature for syndicators. And Matthew connected Leon with my mastermind group, my coaching mastermind group, and Leon blessed us with his expertise, particularly in the realm of raising capital, and kind of blew us all away. He and I have since really developed a kind of a growing friendship here. We talk most days, Leon. You and I are on the phone.
Yeah, really, man, for sure.
and it's just kind of delightful, honestly. It's one of my favorite things about this business is, number one, the kind of people that are in this business, people that are high level, that are go-givers, right? Like, that are all about their purpose, which usually has a lot to do with serving others. And Leon is an amazing example of this. Can't wait to tell you a little bit and have Leon tell you all about what he's up to in that realm. But Leon also has a lot of expertise around operations and other income, in particular, generating, increasing your NOI on a property through generating kind of alternative streams of income outside of rents, outside of RUBS, although RUBS can be a part of what Leon does as well, and what he's going to teach us to do. So Leon, dude, I'll just quit talking. I want to welcome you to the show, my friend. It's a pleasure and an honor. I love being friends with you, man. I love that we get to talk and visit as much as we do. And I'm blessed. So thank you, sir. Appreciate you being on the show.
Vice versa. These times that we've been in the real estate world has been very interesting. We've seen some people that jumps and run, don't want to stick, don't want to be a game changer and take the easy way out. And then there's a few people like you meet, like yourself, that a guy that no matter what, you're trying to figure it out, stay in there, stay part of the team, be a game changer. I believe everything we do, especially if you're a general partner in a deal, sometimes, things happen. You just can't change things. But I believe as a GP, it's our responsibility to be for the present, the future, and the legacy of our own families and all of our investors. And so, I think you get up every morning with that mindset, no matter what, like we've talked about, is get up, we're going to figure it out, we're going to trust God, and we're going to go dig in there until it's time to go home, and just don't ever quit, and I think one of the most important things that you and me have been talking about is that what does it look like in the times that we're at as business owners, and what are we going to do different than we did when times were maybe a little bit better. I said this other day, I said, low interest rates makes everybody look like heroes. The interest rates change, fluctuate up. You find out really who's the true good manager and the guy that also holds people accountable.
Well, so well said. And this is like a magnified, amplified, whatever you want to call it, version of that, right? Because not only did interest rates go up, they went up by 600%. And that's unprecedented. We've had bigger swings in terms of percentage points before, but never in terms of proportion like that. And so that's like you said, Leon, that exposes a lot of things and very good operators and good syndicators and good lead sponsors. Like, it will, unfortunately, in a business plan, there are so many things to account for and so many critical things to get right. And when you have a shock to not only the debt market, but then, indirectly the equity market and indirectly the economy, and actually I'd say directly the overall economy, it's game changing. And so it has not been easy, man, the last, 18, 24 months. And nobody that I know, and whether they're doing this at a very, very high level and have done, 100, I had Whitney Sewell on the show recently, and he was at a pace of they were doing $100 million a year in acquisitions for a while with his company, LifeBridge Capital. And they've been at pretty much a standstill for 24 months as far as, well, that's not true. They cut back to about 25% over the last 2 years of what they were. So, they're, in other words, they're acquiring, say 25 million a year over the last 2 years. Right. So, and that's largely because of deals not qualifying for their buy box. The ones that do qualify for their buy box are heavily competed for in a lot of cases. And Whitney's incredible at raising capital and has an amazing track record and network. But on that side of things, the equity market is I think in shock on the private equity side but much more so on the LP side, right? The investors that got into deals in the last 2 years are largely sitting out right now as we talk, because anything they're in the last 2 years, not anything, but so much of what investors got into over the last 2 years is struggling. Assets are not performing the way that they were projected to. And so you've got NOIs that aren't where they need to be, values aren't where they need to be, and certainly prefs aren't being paid. Quite transparently, we have a couple of properties in that situation, 3 properties in that situation, and it's very painful. It's the last place we'd like to be. We are, anytime an operator is not paying a preferred return, it's for the security of the property's overall economics, but it's still not where we want to be. So anyway, Leon, let's just kind of dissect that down to on the capital side. Like, what changes have you seen? You have raised a lot of capital in your in your career and your business track record. And so I can't wait to get into some conversational techniques and tools that you use. That stuff just blew me away when you presented it before. But what are your thoughts on kind of what it takes to raise capital right now in this market?
Well, I think, I'm in a situation where I have a partner who is a sharp guy, but he's wanting to pull back. And so I've always been the guy that's on the capital side. It's just me right now. And as we begin to wind this deal down, or as with our company, we're finished funding up a couple projects right now, and then we're not going to do anymore and let everything wind itself down. One of the things that I like to talk about, and I've been having conversations with you, different people, what does my next 40 years look like? as a business owner, guy in my early 60s. I don't want to be sitting here just pounding the phone every day trying to raise capital. So one of the things that I think is a key component on raising capital going forward is putting a team together. That team consists of smart people. And I'm sitting here listening to some of the things you're saying is I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day. He's a district overseer for the Church of Gods. And I said, man, maybe I shouldn't have said the church name, but maybe you need to go down and close down a bunch of these churches that have 10, 12 people in them, sell the property, put the money in the bank and tell them they need to go over here and go to this church. I almost think that's the same thing in the GP world. You've got some guys that have tried, did okay. Some of them struggle a little bit. Maybe 2 or 3, 4 of them need to quit doing that and come set under your mentorship and come together and say, hey, you know what? Leon knows how to raise money. Tate knows how to help dissect deals, and let me go help them and let me get a little piece of the deal. And we do more strategic deals, not try to do so much, but more strategic deals that don't give us brain damage. I'm to the point in my life, I need no more brain damage. And what you really will, me and you've had these conversations is if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And I've dealt with some situations, with my wife's health and everything else. So it's made me strategically look at how do I want to run my business, focus my business going forward. And I think it's all about something you said in the very beginning of this podcast, key relationships, key people, and finding that niche, and don't try to change that niche. Just do the same thing over and over again. Southwest Airlines flies the same plane. They've been doing the same thing. And then when they bumped their head a few months ago, somebody goes, oh, here's $200 million. We want to sit at your seat and we're going to help you fix the problem. So I believe it literally creating systems and tools to make all of our lives easier because the banks don't care. The lending institutions don't care.
Right. Yeah. Ditto across I've said for 4+ years on this podcast, maybe even we're into maybe year 5 now.
How come it took 4 years for me to get on the podcast, man? What's up with that?
Dude, you tell me.
So I said that as a joke, Tate, but everything has a season.
Yeah.
And just as a positive note to any GP out there, the season that we went through the last 18 to 24 months, it's changing. Yeah. Winter's coming, but the winter's going to bring a fresh new spring and summer. Yeah. And so the old song goes, we just make it through December, everything will be all right. I really believe that, and get through December and get into 25, we're going to start seeing a change.
Yeah. The survive till 25 mantra has been it's been hearing that for a year and a half, easy. And it actually does kind of look like that may be very well coming to fruition with what the Fed's doing. We just had a 0.5 point interest rate drop, which is aggressive, right? Because a lot of times it's a 0.25 point increment either direction. And then, very strong indication from the Fed of 2 more cuts by the end of the year. And that is definitely going to help. Interestingly, in the short term, Freddie's gone up and actually fairly significantly in interest rate, just due to demand here at the end of the, in the third quarter going into the fourth quarter, from what my lending friends are saying. But yes, I agree with you. Mainly just referencing my third party experts that are the people that I follow and people that I've had on the show, Neil Bawas of the world, that the people that have the big picture and have their finger on the pulse of the big picture agree with you, Leon, that we may still be in towards the end of winter, even though we're in October actually on the calendar. I think as far as this cycle goes, getting past 2 more interest rate hikes by 2025 here by the end of the year, that is going to really start to shift some things ideally, right? And it may take different amounts of time for different asset types, for different markets. But, I think the people that are still in business that have been able to get some deals done, been able to like build relationship, build connections, and which gets back to your point about this being a team sport, man. Like we've said that. That's what I was starting to say. I've said that for 5 years on this show, and it was the first thing I was taught is multifamily is, you can do the single family game as a solopreneur, I guess, like, and you can do multifamily as a solopreneur. I mean, I know some people that raise capital kind of on their own, but if you want to do deal after deal, and especially in the, like an institutional space, let's say, 15, 20 million and up, which is the space that we're really working towards. We're in an $11 million acquisition right now, and but in very institutional quality deal. So if you want to be doing that, like, you need to have key players. And Leon, I'm like, what my thought on this is, like, the way to avoid brain damage, the way that I see it, is these equity relationships need to be worked out to the point that you have a vested, interested strategic partner that is ready to either cut a check or go out and raise in quantity, and has a track record of being able to do that, right?
The problem is you finding that guy. What some of the things that, I didn't mean to cut you off, but let's just play tennis a minute.
Go for it.
Right. We all have seen what rates have done. They went up. So you get a guy that's got 5 million, 10 million, $20 million net worth, $50 million net worth. That guy has been able to go put his money in a T-bill and get 5%, 5.26% on his money, zero risk, put the money there and have no brain damage and go to the beach. Well, as these rates come back down, that's going to wake some of these guys up, because now they're making 2-3% on their money. They're not getting any tax benefits, blah, blah, blah. But it also takes that time to where, my whole life, we've done that fractional guy, the 250, the 500, the 100,000, to even some $50,000 guys. Now what I'm looking for is more that strategic partner, like what you're talking about, and to get that guy that will say, you know what, Tate, I'm going to trust you to go put $1 million in a deal, leave it in there. You give me a piece of the GP side, or you give me a piece of the LP side, and you get me 8-9% on my money. To do that, you have to build those relationships. So one of the things you can never do, I feel like, in our position, is you can never quit selling. You can never quit meeting people and creating relationships. Like, I would challenge anybody on this podcast right now. I've got one group that I've done business with, done over 8,000 multifamily doors with. And we've got a project right now in Richardson, Texas, where we're estimating in Dallas-Fort Worth to literally have over 15 million people living by 2030. In the state of Texas, over 40 million people by 2030. This deal's $100 and something thousand under replacement value. I did a deal with this same group in 2013. We bought it for $68,000 a door and sold it for $158,000 a door. I've got a great place for somebody to put some 1031 money right now. Or if you've got a deal out there and you got somebody looking to place money, me and you both have got a place they could place money today in a couple great deals that would give them tax benefits, cost segregation, bonus depreciation. And we would let you participate on the GP side with us for helping bring the deal. Bring money to the deal.
100%. Way to cut to the chase, man.
Well, I mean,
I love it. I love it. It's instructional, right? Like, there are opportunities like that, where you got tax advantage, you got GP percentage, you got LP returns, and you got the security of majority ownership in an LP structure, like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Risk mitigation, right? So and Leon and I will always have ongoing opportunities internally or inside of strategic partnerships for equity deployment. And to simplify a little bit, I think it'd be helpful to just be clear that in my world, there's basically two conversations here. One is what Leon was just speaking to, which is the $100,000, $150,000, $250,000, maybe $50,000 minimum, what we call an LP investor, a retail investor. And then there's the private equity piece, right? The pref equity groups, the family offices out there. And here's another, like a third source is fund managers, right? And I happen to be a member of Raise Masters. I don't mind dropping names on, not affiliated in any way in marketing, just a very, very happy member of that mastermind that Hunter Thompson's put together, and is just a powerhouse. And that group is chock full of fund managers, right? Fund managers are people that that specifically raise capital, and they raise it into a fund. And in most cases, that fund has the capacity to invest in multiple deals on an ongoing basis. And they diversify, and they usually diversify between operators. And sometimes it's asset class specific. Sometimes there's a really specific model. Sometimes it's more of a broad model. So that for listeners, and for you, Leon, and me here, as we continue to talk, I just wanted to kind of like, you're always raising from all three sources, right? You're always building those relationships. So your LPs, your retail level investors that are, they've got a retirement account, and they're gonna invest, 200,000, 250,000, and then 1031 investors. By the way, that's another component that can go into that basic slot. Private equity, fund managers, right? So, have you worked with funds much?
We did one big fund, and I'm not a big component of that fund guy, because a lot of times they want to be the guy that comes in, and we had an incident where they were 75%, we were 25%, and we felt like we did a pretty dang good job managing everything we did. We had detailed organization. We had money set up aside for every time we turned a door, and every time we would want to do anything, we need to fly somebody down there to look at it, We finally said, hey, no, we're going to buy you out. And they said, no, we're going to buy you out, and kick us out of the deal, because they were a bigger component. I think the key sweet spot is the guy that can write you that check for 250 to 10 million. And he's that guy that may be part of it. He don't want to leave it in the deal. You have to go raise it out. He bridges your deal for you to help you close the deal quicker, still raise your money out with that 250 to $500,000 check value that leaves it in. And if you really do good deals and you stay focused on just doing those kind of things, you'll never have a problem funding deals. My guys that we bill with, literally, I can take one of their deals, and usually within 30 days, I can fund one of their project. And because typically the GP's putting in 2 to 5 million of his own money in every deal. And we're talking 39, $40 million bills, $50 million bills on brand new multifamily. And so I can't, if I could list all of my mistakes, my biggest mistake was trying to be too broad with too many different things, and not having a key component of something that was just staying in my lane. You know what I'm saying? Stay in my lane, focus in my lane, don't get out of my lane, just repeat and do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, and you actually spoke to this earlier in the conversation. It was something I wanted to echo, which is like, you got to have a specific model. Like, now more than ever, you got to pick a lane and master it and not get out of it, in my opinion, right? The reason for that is because everybody else in the space, or 90%, 85% of everybody else in the space, is specializing in your lane. And if you're spread out too thin, you're outside of a very specific model, very specific buy box, if you will, acquisition criteria, and then operations model, and also acquisitions model in terms of the way you put deals together. You're putting yourself at a competitive disadvantage if you're not mastering one very specific niche in this, in my opinion. And I would say that beyond that, I don't think there's like one superior model. I think that there's and obviously that changes as market changes, as demand and demographics change. You and I were talking, Leon, about you had a tiny home development community idea, which to me, like it where I start to get excited is around developing anything that is like a lot like a single family starter home, right? Whether that's a quote unquote tiny house model, whether that's townhomes, like, real in like nice 2 to 3 bed, 2 bath, either 1 or 2 car garage townhomes that can go high density. I really love townhomes. And then and then also like build to rent, like actually building single family subdivisions that are rentals, right? What are your thoughts around that? And I you and I talked about it, so I know kind of what your thoughts are around it. But in the context of why that essentially land and land development play might be a direction that you'd like to head yourself.
Well, I think you're asking two questions there. One is land, and then one is tiny homes or creating something like that. The people that we build with, our main focus with those guys is, first of all, it's going to be very hard to duplicate what we've done with these guys, is because the general partner, he is also a builder, so he sits on both sides of the fence, has a great relationship with HUD. Can get something where normally it takes 2 years. He's got it down to where he turns something around in 12 months or less. And, and so they focus on outlying areas. One of the, I think the two major things I wish I would have learned really strongly as a kid from this is, number one is the scripture in the Bible, be the lender, not the borrower. I wish I would have got that at 5 or 6 years old. It saved every dime I ever had in my life, and only 80% of it spent only 20. And the second thing was go to the outside of the city and let the city come to you. So no matter where you're at in a city, is if you get on the outskirts of a city, what's going on in our country right now, if you look at the influx of population we're having come from all parts of the world, coming to every major city, it doesn't matter where I've been. It seems like these people are trickling in, and then if they get across the border in the U.S., they wind up trickling into Arkansas, Alabama, California, somewhere they trickle in and get in. Well, it's growing. Well, going to the outskirts of the city, buying a small tract of land, building something, making it work, and then just repeat that over and over again. And so I think your land cost are your major component in anything you do.
Yeah. Land plays can be really interesting. And like, that's a lane that we got into that, I actually have some experience in some land entitlement deals where you turn raw land into papered land, as they say, or permitted land for a specific project or a specific type of project. Without breaking ground, you find a developer to either partner with or sell the project to, and boom, your work is done. You either got revenue or you got a partnership. Okay, well, no matter what we're doing, we're still raising capital. We're still building relationships. So I want to get into this. I need to let my audience hear like how you kind of your conversation pieces. So like that 200,000, let's say $150,000 to $250,000 investor that is looking at a deal, and you insert whatever deal you want. Maybe it's the one you're working on right now, right? Like, number one, course of your raising, 8,000 multifamily doors, dude, that's insane. That's amazing. And you've raised a lot of capital for that. What are the conversation themes or topics that seem to come up almost every single time? What are investors most concerned about? What are they most interested in? And I know that changes as market conditions change, and you can comment on that too. And then, what are your favorite kind of conversation points to help move things along and get prospects converted into active investors?
I think number one is building relationships. I've always said there's two kind of relationships. There's a fun relationship and there's an in-person relationship. So the in-person relationship, maybe the guy that lives local, you spend time with that guy and you get to know his needs and what he wants. And then there's the guy you may never meet, never see, you know, and never even personally meet that guy. It's just a phone relationship. He trusts you and to a point that he'll send you money through the mail, do your paperwork, and trust that you're going to do what you're going to do. And so I think those are two kind of relationships to look at. Number one. And I like to have a balance. And right now, you don't have enough of either. I mean, you know, the in-person deals. If you're doing a deal in your city, I believe one of the things that's done very well for us is we would do what we call meetups on Friday morning. There, we would invite as many people as we could to that asset, and then we would tour the asset. And we would have the lead GP do the walkthrough, talk about it, and man, when I first got this deal, I came out of the oil and gas industry where I never met anybody. It was all over the phone. You may be drilling a well in the middle of BFE, you know, and you never, in fact, you never even go there. You're just going to drill the well. Well, as you begin to meet these people and understand who they are, you want to make sure they're in good deals because you build relationships and you don't want to ever see anybody get hurt. So building relationships with them in person and over the phone are important. And then tour your property and let your general partner walk through the deal. And then if you're part of a company too, you can do it on your own. There's been deals. We had a property in Dallas and we bought it in like 2009 or 10. It was an older asset. I literally, if I get somebody on the phone, there was 4 or 5 of us raising me. I'd go down there and tour it every day. I was down, out, back down, back up, down, tow it. Probably spent during that project $5,000 in toll tag fees. It seemed like I was down there, back, tour it, talk about the area, talk about the location, talk about the upgrowth, and then sure enough, 4.5, 5 years later, somebody gave us a 3.2 cap for it, sold it for all the money. Clients annualized almost a 50% return on their money, and just knocked a home run because it was in the heart of Dallas. And so I think know your area, know what you're presenting, what's around you, what's going on. Know your project inside and out, and don't try to oversell something. Just talk about the project, and then learn you got 2 ears, 1 mouth. You got 2 ears more for listening than you do talk.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's look at that Dallas project and like the investors that got in. I mean, what was their ride like? And like, I mean, kind of starting off at the beginning, like thinking about maybe a few of those specifics, like, you know, how did you get them in? You know, the in-person tours, like, and I think it's something like you have 3 or 4 times better chance of converting investors if you've met them and shaken their hand. And there's just no replacing the power of that. Right. And, you know, Zoom meetings have helped things, I think, a lot in that realm, but still, like a phone call versus an in-person meeting, there's no doubt, like, you're going to.
I actually like both because the phone call, literally, if you do your job right on the phone, fact, benefit, education, and close the client, ask for the business. Number one. Number two is Zig Ziglar said it best. If your stack of value is more than their stack of money, those two change hands. And then when you start dealing with that's a big deal. But then the in-person meeting, you gotta have it set up, you know, and if you've got a property manager there managing the property, you have to educate your clients. When we go to here, we don't talk about selling this asset. We don't ever talk about changing property managers. We don't ever do anything. We talk about just the asset. There's a lot of times I just toured the client and the property, never even get out and go in. Hey, the property manager's busy today. Let's just drive through and look at what's going on. Look at all the excitement's going on. Talk about that. Take them back. Talk to them about investing on the way down and on the way back. But I think it's also like you brought this up to me the other day. I hadn't been paying attention to this. And man, I literally have used it all day long today, and we'll use it for the next 6 to 12 months is because it's like, where are we at in the present? Where are we at in the future? And what does the legacy of the next 3 to 5 years look like? Well, you know as well as I do, in all of our areas, we're overbuilt in multifamily right now. And right. We had, when these interest rates were low, everybody spun off as many, permits as they could. That's building, blah, blah, blah. But then what's happened now is the interest rate spike, permits have stopped. Now what's going to happen in 25, 26, and 27, time you get 26, there's going to be a shortage with the amount of people that are moving to all of our cities. So I started talking about that today and really just digging back in. I think to be direct, I think every person that raises money gets tired of it. And you have to re-fall in love with what you do if you do it best. And so the last couple of days, I've had to really check myself and say, hey, I've got to get back discipline, start putting something positive in my own ears. Who am I listening to? Who is talking and speaking to me? Or if you're a Christian, you got to be praying, asking God for wisdom and knowledge. And then number two is, if you're sick and fed up, let that sick and fed up be your driving tool to get you through the next level. I mean, you've had this conversation. You know, you got a no deal right now. You're sick and tired of it. You hope a big storm come through and blow it away that the insurance company would pay for it. But you know, but in reality, you're going to get through it some way. We're going to figure it out, and it's going to happen. Yeah. And so discipline and just dig but whatever story you're telling, you need to be able to tell it with conviction and tell it that the truth and bring the clarity to everybody that you're speaking to about the project.
You know, listeners, if you notice, like Leon is a natural sales guy and he just kind of glossed through this, but he said something about the story that you need to be able to tell the story that you're telling, I think is what you said, Leon. And
the story that you're telling, you better be the one believing it yourself.
Well, and you better have a story to start with, right? Like, you need to have a story behind what this investment is, how you got it, why you love it, why they should love it. And
hey, so let me throw this an example to you.
Yeah.
Hey, we're building a project in Wichita Falls, Tate. You know, they got 20 multifamily properties there, and I know another new property there would be great. And man, you know, it's going to take us 18 to 24 months to build it. We're going to give you an 8 pref on your money. Will you do 250 to 500 with me?
There you go.
You know, what did I just sound like?
Yes, I will, Leon.
What I just sounded like was a guy that was literally a guy that just get by. Now, let me tell you how I pitch it. I'm not even, if you were sitting here at my desk, my 4-foot computer screen's up. We funded this project, and I'm going to tell you how I presented this project. Hey, we're going to Wichita Falls. Happened to be where my granddad was from. Number one. Number two, it's got over 20 multifamily apartment complexes in this city. The last permit was pulled in 2008 to build an asset in this city. It's got 102,000 people living in the city, building a brand new high school. We're going to be the newest asset on the block, put granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, hardwood floors, and we're gated community, workout facility, and a pool. What's so great about what we're doing there is, number one, we're not only going to pull from the multifamily apartment doors over there, the 20 apartment complexes, we're going to go pull from the guy that's renting a house that's sick of mowing his yard, sick of dealing with his neighbors that there as well. And he wants to come live where the nicest, newest things are. And there's an Air Force base there. And Lawton, Oklahoma is less than 80 miles away. And it hadn't had a new apartment complex built in it since Moby Dick was a minute. And I walk him through my business plan. And the guy goes, okay, I'm in. I'll put 250. And then,
that's a story right there, right? That's the story. Like listeners, if you're looking for like, what do we mean when you say tell the story? That's telling the story. Like, and you know, like the granite countertops, like the gated community, the things that you're appealing to their senses, right? Like they can see these things. They can granite, you can feel it. Like
paint them into your picture. Get them to come be a part of your world. I mean, you talk to me about a gun and say, hey, Leon, I want to tell you about this. I scored this gun of the day. It's a double barrel, double trigger, double clip AR. And man, you can adjust the barrels 1 inch lower to higher scope. I actually own that gun. I start telling that story. No, most people have never seen a double barrel AR. People freak out over this story. I paint them into holding that gun. And what you want to do is paint that guy into being part of your story. And then I can't say this enough. How are you reporting to your clients? Are you giving them some lob week report, or are you taking time to report to them in a manner that they're excited about the report?
Yeah.
Even if it's bad, report to them, let them know what's going on.
100%. Yep. And yeah, these are all things that I know, at least in our case, Greenlight and my internal team, like these are all things that we can always be better at. And there's a lot of room for improvement where, internally, just right here at the, at the host desk, if you will, of the show. Like these are all things that we're all working on. Right. And
and if you want somebody to counsel you or work with you, hey, we've got a charity called Miracle Farms Foundation, helpbeamiracle.com. We feed wounded, we give homes away to wounded warriors, do these kind of things. Go to our website, check us out. My personal contact information's on that website. I'll be glad to, do a consultation with anybody. I want to see everybody successful. And you couldn't have said it better, Tate. We've got to all do a better job. And I believe you can look at the times that we've been in over the last 18 months as either a time that we're going to get disgusted and let it beat us, or are we going to get more discipline in what we're doing and dig, man, I'm not bragging when I say this, but my wife has been extremely ill. Last year, I took my wife to 8 doctor visits a week. And while she's in the hyperbaric chamber for 2 hours, I'm down the hallway in the hospital, sitting there, having clients come to the hospital, bring me checks, and do paperwork with me in the hospital because I was trying to get a project done. And the reason they came there is so I can walk them through and teach them how to use my software system. Right. And so it doesn't matter what you're going through. You trust God, surround yourself with smart people, and dig like your life depended on it, and you'll get through it.
Yeah. Helpbeamiracle.com. Listeners, please go there. If you've gotten value out of this, just trust that Leon is doing what he's doing with his heart in it for the right reasons, with, clear eyes, full heart, as they say. He's got this really cool thing called Pack the Big Rig. And basically he's feeding lots and lots of families through this drive. And, we've given to it, and we've donated to it. And you want to talk about Pack the Big Rig for a second?
Yeah. We have a cool vision that we felt like that in procrastinated in 21, coming out of COVID and everything. We finally said yes to the deal, and we got it all put together. And so Pack the Big Rig is our goal, is to be able to use at least 1 to minimum 2 trailer loads a month of food away and raise that and give it away. And it's about $52,000 a trailer. A pallet of food's $2,200, feeds 48 families, and so going in there and, maybe somebody out there knows somebody that's a big corporate sponsor at Peterbilt that would like to own that spot and help us there. But we're passionate about feeding, teaching financial literacy, and giving homes away and to people that served our military. And that's really what Miracle Farms is all about.
Yeah, it's excellent. Excellent work, Leon. Well, we promised the listeners a little bit about other income. And to be honest with you, like, why don't we do this? Let's have you unpack that one. In a thumbnail, if you will. Talk about like what you've talked to me about. I'll tell you specific where this is specifically moving to me is in the world of renters insurance, right? You really opened my eyes on this one. Talk about like that particular piece and how it fits into the larger piece of what you offer on the other income side. I think this is something that to be fair and add the most value to our listeners, we may need to actually do another episode on this, because and maybe we'll do that as we implement some of the things that you've brought to us and some of the possibilities there. But so talk about that a little bit, Leon, in terms of like other income, other line item income potentials.
Sure, no problem. So one of the things that I've learned just, in the last year and a half, it's not only take the property, the GPs, when the interest rates were low, a lot of them really shined and looked good. But then you've got property managers that really shined and looked good. because interest rates were so low, and it made it easy to overcome mistakes and issues. And then we're dealing with the uncertainty of employees that are literally don't have your vision as a general partner for your property. You've hired this management company to stick an employee in there, and then they don't really care about your property the way you do. All they're interested in is a paycheck. So it goes back to the old rule: you got to inspect what you expect. And so I think not only with your property managers, your whoever's in charge of the property management company, you've got to also, and I don't sit on that side, but I try to do it in life. If I go somewhere and somebody's really taking care of me, I love how this was said by Jim Rohn the other day. He said, if you go in and sit down at a restaurant, and instead of tipping last, bring the waiter over and say, hey, Tate, you know what? I really appreciate you're going to take care of us. I want to give you $20 because tonight's a special day before we start. Will you take extremely good care of us? Well, you tip the guy before you ever do anything. What just happened is you switch the role. You tip first, and now all of a sudden this guy's going to kill for you. How do we do that with the employee, the property manager? Well, maybe you get that person's name, you send them a dozen roses once every couple months, or you go by and take a gift card to go, hey, here's $20 for Starbucks. You've almost groomed that person to have your mentality. It's the Starbucks, and not Starbucks, I apologize. It's the Chick-fil-A mentality. There's never been a Chick-fil-A that I went in that I didn't get treated nice, because it starts at corporate and it rolls down. So that's the first thing. In any one of your properties, set a discipline of how you would like your property rent, and love on your people and make them feel special. And then what winds up happening is they're going to take care of your property, and then hold your property managers accountable, and then start looking at every line item. One of the things we've always done in every multifamily is we've charged for an extra parking spot.
Yeah.
If you're in apartment one, there's 2 cars, you got apartment one extra spot's $25 extra a month. You take 50 spots at $25 a month times a 5 cap, whenever your property's worth X dollars more. Looking at, do you have too many people on the grounds? You have too many people working. You immediately take a $60,000 employee away and redirect some of that work. Take 60,000 times 12 times a 5 cap. Do your math of that. It works real well. And
that's
then
a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for
hundreds and hundreds of thousands. It's $800,000-$900,000, let's say.
When you get ready to sell that asset. And one of the things that we've done, we've partnered with a great company. Not every state allows you to be a reseller of electricity or gas, but we have a company that we can do that with. You can reach out to us. We can teach you how to do that. Number one. Number two is, I would venture to say that most people that own small to mid cap properties hasn't got with their local real estate agent and said, hey, look, I did this when I had a home. If I had girls renting for me, you had to call my real estate agent, my insurance agent, buy your renter's insurance from him, and then bring me a copy of it proving that you had it. Well, if you get a deal cut with him, guy's going to move in, you're going to put $100,000 worth of renter's insurance. Well, just include it in their rent, make it easy for them. Set them up, and then you added up an extra $5-10 a month, and you're collecting that. Now there's another profit center. Delegate to that property manager.
This one has really hit home for me, and the to take it a step further, what that does is it ensures you that they're using a good company because you've handpicked the company. They're getting the right policy with the right coverages because you've ordered it and you've made sure of it, and you're making a little bit of money on top. I mean, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's making sure that everybody's complying, right? I mean, you can require renter's insurance, and somebody can produce something that makes it look like they have it, and then what, right?
Well, everybody wants to be made to feel special.
Yeah.
So, hey, Tate, thank you for coming into our property. And thank you for renting for us. What we have is we have a concierge service. We have the ability to help you get your dish set up, or your direct TV and our Frontier internet. And then through the system that we use, and then, oh, by the way, we've already got your renter's insurance taken care of here for you.
And it's
all
required.
you need,
that's in the lease. So that's
it's required
for them.
for you to have it. And then boom, boom, boom. And you help them fill everything out. And if it's with our company that we're the reseller through, Direct TV, Dish, whatever it may be. And then one of the components that through our company, we partnered with Miracle Farms with this group to do this with is, it's a big key component in everybody's life right now is health insurance. And so we have a company called Impact Health Share that you can actually create a banner, put it in your apartment complex office. That guy can scan it. They scan that banner. They go to it. They click it. Somebody takes care of them at Impact Health Share, and you get a check for it every month. So it's little simple things that are paying attention to the dollars that wind up in somebody else's pocket. You go to Vegas, all the money goes to a cage in the back. If you own that multifamily apartment complex, we want to try to keep as much money in our GP's pockets and our friends' pocket as we can. And we just created some tools to do that with.
Yeah, it's so brilliant. So listeners, Leon is an expert at this particular thing and is happy to consult with you at any level. I really think these are things that need to be like strongly considered, because any increase in NOI pays off geometrically in the math when you do it in an NOI cap rate calculation, right? And these are things that there's a lot of good reasons outside of just the income potential to be doing these things and implementing these things. They're really truly best for your resident at the end of the day.
Yeah, one of the things we did through this company that we work directly with is we cut a deal with ADP. Everybody knows who ADP payroll processing is. They give us a 40% discount to our clients for using them through our program. So if you own multiple apartment complexes and you want to set up ADP through all your people, you can set it up with one component, save money on it, and boom, there you go. And we can take you to it. It's so simple, so easy to do. And if you sign up and sign yourself up directly, you can get paid off of it.
Yeah. Leon, what's the best way for listeners to reach out to you about anything, but specifically about this and consulting with you on this piece?
And our direct, number is 972-386-4793, or you can text us at our cell at 972-342-4424, or check out the website. All of that contacts on the foundation's website as well.
Yeah. So helpbeamiracle.com. You guys got to go check
miracle.com. Yeah,
that's right. And you guys got to check this out and what they're up to on this piece. And Leon, I appreciate this, man. This has been awesome. I'm really excited that we're in each other's circle now, and I'm looking forward to getting some big things done together in the future. And I really appreciate you blessing my listeners and myself today with your great ideas and all your experience. And survive till 25, right, brother? This just gets better from here. So
yeah, Tate, tell a little bit back, and we won't keep just a second more, but
you're good.
You never know who that's in your influence of circle. We still hadn't seen what's come out in Lawton, Oklahoma, but if you go to our website at helpbeamiracle.com, Tate's got a project that's in his wheelhouse that he's working very hard to finish up and get done. Well, it just so happened that I get introduced to Tate. And then from that, the first project that we do with Miracle Farms is we met a guy named Ray Garcia who had served the military, who his parents had left him on the streets and as a kid in New York for over 3 years. He serves the military, comes out, moves a lot in Oklahoma, and they had a chance to buy an elementary school there. We found out about it. Now they're getting kids out of alcohol, drug addictions, and everything else, getting them jobs. They're doing stuff in the community. Well, our foundation paid that building off and gave it to them. Well, because of that relationship, it was able to make a connection for Tate. Now, if nothing may never happen, but it was a connection that at least put some hope in it. And sometimes it doesn't matter what you're doing, just a little bit of hope or light can literally get you to the next hurdle that can get you over what you're dealing with. It can change. So I would say one thing I'd like to leave it with is treat everybody like you'd like to be treated. Go your extra mile to build relationships, because if you do that and learn to respond, not react, and if you can do that, you'll be a hero.
Amen, bro. Leon, I love you, man. Thank you for doing this.
Appreciate you, boss.
Today. And listeners, you know I love you guys, and I appreciate you being with me here every week. Ideally is what we're doing right now, once a week. So like and recommend this episode, share this episode, or any episode that speaks to you. We're always bringing.
Please share. Yeah, please share. Helpmeamiracle.com too, on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Please.
Yep. Let's go to bat. Let's feed some families. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
This has been the Apartment Gurus with Tate Siemer. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. To contact Tate, go to www.investwithgreenlight.com for access to his investor portal and Calendly link. He loves to hear from you and thanks you for being a valued listener. Just a reminder that you are the guru. See you on the next episode of the Apartment Gurus.